Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. It's Excoundrel AFK Journey here. What we are going to be doing today is covering the brand new meta team. You may have seen this in my video that I did at the weekend, but I'm going to go into it in a bit more depth at the moment because this is the meta team that people are pushing AFK stages with and generally using to tackle high-end level content. Now, first of all, what is it and what do you need? Well, go back to the hero resonating full screen for that. The two most important units in terms of resonant sort of, I guess, ascendancy and also X weapons are Eironn and Arden. Now, you might say, oh, but wait, Eironn and Arden are part of the other meta composition. And yes, that's pretty much it. They are very, very good, and I think Eironn will constantly be better meta. He's one of the best units in the game. But what you really need with Eironn is you need to have him at least at Mythic Plus, and ideally you would like to have him at X Weapon level 10 if you can. The reason being is that X Weapon level 10 gives him 6 seconds, which doubles the duration of the immobilization from his initial ultimate, which is very good. In terms of Arden, you need him at least, well, ideally you need Arden at Supreme Plus. You'd actually really ideally love Eironn at Supreme Plus. The reason being, I'm going to jump back to him just now. The reason being is that at Supreme Plus, this is Granny Dani. I've just gone the wrong way. At Supreme Plus, he reduces the magic defense of everyone that gets affected by his ultimate by 15%, which is a big deal because there's a lot of magic damage in this comp. With Arden, again, Supreme Plus is ideal. Obviously, Mythic Plus is usable, but Supreme Plus is ideal, mostly because you can essentially double Arden's DPS at Supreme Plus. He's one of the few units in the game where Supreme Plus is a significant upgrade over Mythic Plus, because essentially the Arden's Mythic Plus, or Arden's ult sort of ability in general, is that his ultimate, when the grey cloud comes over the top of the battlefield, it will lightning strike anybody that is affected by crowd control. The cooldown for the same target being struck by lightning in a row is 2 seconds. Supreme Plus reduces that to 1 second, so it essentially increases his lightning, or doubles his lightning DPS, which is pretty a big deal. In terms of his X weapon, you kind of need it at ideally +5. That just makes his ultimate much more impactful across the whole battlefield. But if you can, X weapon +10 gives you an extra second on the entangling root duration. Obviously, +15 gives you another 0.5 seconds, but the whole second is the ideal thing that we're looking for here, because that synergizes with his Supreme Plus 1 second duration on the lightning hit strikes. In terms of what else you need, Scarlita. So this is very possible to do with Scarlita at simply 1 copy. People have been pushing relatively far with a 1 copy of Scarlita. However, if you can get Scarlita to Supreme Plus, which is going to be difficult, because most people have focused Rainier, and I'd say, frankly, I would still go for Rainier. It's much better for the Dream Realm and in general trying to find progression rewards. But I'm trying to get Scarlita to Supreme Plus now, because essentially she'll increase an ally's heroes' physical damage and magic defense while using Valkyrie Spirit to protect them with the amount equal to 50% of Scarlita's own physical defense and magic defense. And Valkyrie Spirit sends the weakest non-summoned ally a blessing while in the air, granting them a shield 15% of Scarlita's max HP for 3 seconds. So essentially she shields them, and usually that's going to be your tank who's taken the most damage at the start of the fight. In terms of tanks, what you're looking for is Granny Dani. Granny Dani just simply because she adds a wilder bonus, but also on top of that, the whole point of this comp is to just apply as much crowd control as physically possible. Now, this is certainly doable with Thorin. I think you can still play Thorin in lieu of Granny Dani, especially if you don't have Granny Dani at a very high level, but Granny Dani, very strong. In terms of getting Granny Dani to a certain level, Mythic Plus is kind of where you want to be because it gives her a lot of magic defense or a lot of defense in general, plus gives her some ability to regenerate HP. In terms of X weapon level, I only have her at +5. Ultimately, +10 would be amazing if you can get it, but I would not recommend investing resources in Granny Dani +10 compared to a lot of the other +10s that you need to get in the game. So +5 is reasonable and perfectly fine. But really, you don't need to put you don't actually really need to put anything into Granny Dani because you don't actually get a huge buff from +5. But it's just for the extra stats because she's kind of going to be your frontline tank. And then in terms of healers, what we're looking for is Rowan. Believe it or not, we don't use Rowan very often in meta comps at the moment, but we're looking for Rowan. Rowan at, frankly, anything. I like having him at Supreme Plus because he places one more health potion, which is very good in terms of just topping people up and increasing his healing capabilities. But ultimately, you don't really need Rowan at any particular level, because the only thing that you really need Rowan for is his ultimate, because we're about energy generation here, and you'll see why when we get into the fight. Yeah, like, and also for Rowan, plus 10 is great. You know, it's ideal if we can get it to plus 10. But again, not something that I would recommend that you invest resources in if you want to get him to plus 5, because the tidal essences are much more gettable or much more findable than temporal essences. Then yes, go for it. But you don't really need Arden at any particular level. You'll also see a couple of other variations of the comp, which will have things like Florabelle in them, for instance. Maybe able to catch it on the records here. No, this is using this comp in general, but there are some levels where Brutus is used. Brutus is used if you want to try and stop an assassin, for instance. There are some levels where Florabelle is used for an extra bit of CC and just the physical damage aspect. So there are lots of different kind of variations of the comp, but this is the core comp. And if there are other levels that warrant a change in variation as we're going through this, I will use them. Okay, so let's take a look at kind of how this comp operates, because essentially it has a very basic strategy. The strategy tends to be everybody here, apart from Rowan himself, applies some kind of crowd control. So what we're looking at here is by having Eironn, Arden, Granny Dani, and eventually Scarlita all apply continuous crowd control effects. Now, the best way to do this is to manually cast, because you can layer the crowd control in a way that completely extends its duration. However, you can also auto-cast this, but I'll show you a version of both, right? This one's here. Eironn pulls everybody in immediately. This is not the best one because everyone's kind of on the other side of the wall. Granny Dani jumps in. We're still using Star Shard to reduce the attack speed. Everybody's still locked up. You can see the opponents are basically not casting at the moment. And we're going to have another really nice lockup here. Everybody just not doing anything. And boom. Easily through the level. And that is kind of the premise of this comp. We're gonna do it again now. Hopefully walk into a slightly better. This is a good version here, right? So, Eironn locks up. They do immediately start attacking Granny Dani, but she's kept alive. She then casts her ultimate, which applies crowd control, which gives more energy to Arden. Arden then casts again. He has a self-fulfilling prophecy once he casts first time. Gets loads and loads of energy. Casts again. On top of the Scarlita knockup, we have another Granny Dani knockup here. Scarlita's going to get her energy and do another knockup, or rather another stun. And you can basically see the premise, right? This is the very basic concept of this. And frankly, you can just let this roll for the most part, especially if you're, I'm still I'm a little bit behind where I should be on AFK levels, in all honesty. But yeah, going to just show you kind of how far I can get. I'm on AFK stage 550 now. Let's see how we can get by how far we can get by just auto casting and letting this roll. I will bring the video back when we get to the point where it's getting a little harder. Okay, I only got about a few stages before I ran into a version that doesn't use the Granny Dani version. This is where the flexibility of the comp comes in. The core of Scarlita, Arden, and Eironn is still there, but we've now switched out to Arania and then also into a Damian. So we'll have a look here what happens. So positioning-wise, we teleport him to the back line, and then everybody else is just kind of kept there on the back line. One of the problems that I was running into previously was that my backline was just getting evaporated. So I understand the reason that we've got Damian here is that he just kind of keeps your backline from getting blown up. Which actually, given that my Damian is Mythic Plus +5, should be even easier. So let's take a look again. Scarlita's there. We're going to have Arden here. We're going to have Eironn there. We're going to get rid of Granny Dani. We're going to pop in Arania, who is going to go like that. We're going to teleport Arden to our side. So not Arden. Yeah, Arden and to our side. No, I would like it to go on to... Yeah, that's fine. Right. Fine. This should be fine. So we're going to teleport him to the back. And we should... Oh, my Arden got blown up, so we're going to have to try that again. Maybe move my Arden over here. Do that. Okay, fine, let's go. Teleport Eironn. We bring Arden back over this side. He should get locked up. Yeah, this is a lot better now. My Arden's actually cast. Their Arden's getting beaten up. Gets cast again. Eironn is tanking like a boss, and then in comes Scarlita. Boom. Easy as you like. Sometimes you have to switch things up because there are just certain enemies that you obviously can't deal with. Let's go to the next level and see if there's any changes here. This is a Florabelle version. Let's take a look at this. So once again, Eironn gets teleported. Florabelle over this side. Okay, fine. I don't want to look any. I don't need to see any more. I just needed to see the positioning. So this time round, we are going to have Eironn over here, or at least Eironn here. Scarlita, and then Florabelle was included. Okay, let's see how this goes. And again, like, this is just how the comp kind of shifts up, but you're seeing that the core comp of Eironn, Arden, and Scarlita tends to stay pretty well alive here. They get pulled back in again. We're going to combo that with Florabelle. And boom. Nice. Pretty easy. I think we sent someone to the Rainier realm. We did. So he's back now. Should get very easily dealt with. Donk. Easy as you like. Okay. We'll go back and see if we can go back to using the original comp now. And again, it is flexible. Everything in this comp is quite flexible. Let's bring Granny Dani back into the fray. Who were we using before as well? We were using Rowan. Wherever Rowan's gone. I recently upgraded him, so he's now ended up getting a bit higher than he was previously. Okay. Let's go back to Granny Dani. Get pulled on the front line. We've got an Igor in this version. He's going to get immobilized. And we're going to get another another Arden lock up here. Granny Dani's... Oh, Granny Dani's actually dead. Let's see how we get going. Should be okay, because there's a lot of CC getting applied here. So we should be fine. And yeah, we do. Perfectly. And yeah, this is just basically a TLDR of this composition. It's really easy to play if you have the right units. If you have most of the Eironn composition, then you should be able to kind of work with this. I have a feeling that I might... So these wind elementals tend to be very difficult to deal with. So I have a feeling that I'm probably going to have to run it. Yeah, I'm going to have to run a slightly different composition here. I don't see myself winning. Yeah, because I'm just getting like a one shot. Let's actually just out of interest, let's see what the record is for this. So this is with Brutus and Florabelle. Again, the core comp of Eironn and Arden, but this time we're instead running Damien over Scarlita. So Scarlita's not actually in this one at all. So Eironn and Arden being kind of the core comp in this situation. Not to say that you couldn't do this for Scarlita. You tend to see the entire list on here tends to be just people that are running copies of the best possible comp. But I'm just interested to see how this is positioned. So we have Brutus at the front that taunts everybody up, and then we have Arden and Florabelle. Cool. Well, we'll give it a go. Slightly different as there's no Scarlita this time around, but I am always keen to try new things. Now, I should theoretically be in a pretty good spot for this because I've got a good Damien. I've also got a higher than average Brutus. So do this, do that. That should be it. All right, let's see how we go. So we pull them in, taunt them all up for Brutus. He's staying alive for the time being, getting healed. Brutus should start spinning. He does start spinning. The physical damage is actually... I think it's the physical damage specifically that is important on this one. Brutus is going to start spinning again. Spin. Yep, very easy. Boom. And yeah, you can just basically see that even though we didn't have Scarlita on this one, that core of Eironn and Arden especially is pretty much used exclusively across all of these sort of AFK level pushes. And frankly, you know, the reality is that this is just another take on like Eironn plus Carolina. So it's like the Eironn Carolina comp, but it's pretty good to progress with and relatively easy to do so. So hopefully you guys can give it a go, and I'll see you soon.